Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Ivy Bar and this is my new series called Cup of Crime. If you're obsessed with true crime just like me, then I highly recommend you make yourself a nice cup of coffee and subscribe to my channel as I'm planning on releasing new videos every week. Today's story is about Sarah Everard, who was born in Surrey, England in 1987. She was raised in York, where she studied human geography, and she graduated in 2008. She then moved to London to pursue her career in marketing. In 2021, Sarah lived in the Brixton Hill area of London. She worked as a marketing executive for a digital media agency. Her father, Jeremy, was a professor. He taught electronics at the University of York, and her mother, Susan, was involved in charity work. Sarah also had an older brother, James, and an older sister, Katie. Sarah was described as an honest person, really beautiful, able to empathize, able to listen, really hardworking, and everyone basically loved her very much. A colleague of Sarah wrote in a Facebook post that the team loved her, the clients loved her, and once she entered someone's life, she made it better. In the evening of March 3rd, 2021, which was a Wednesday, Sarah was meeting with a friend at their house. Around 9 p.m. she decided that it was time to go home, so she left the house that was in southwest London. She was walking along wide, busy streets so that she could feel safe. The walk home was supposed to take her about 50 minutes. During the walk, she was talking on the phone with her boyfriend, 33-year-old Josh Loth, marketing director, and that conversation lasted for about 15 minutes. When they were talking, they arranged to meet the next day. However, Sarah never made it home. Josh raised the alarm with the police the next day after his girlfriend failed to turn up for that meeting. The police then surveyed footage, they knocked on doors, they spoke to hundreds of people trying to find Sarah. They were looking through parklands and ponds, and Sarah's family was also really concerned because they thought that this disappearance was really out of character for her. On Sunday, the police received doorbell camera footage which was showing Sarah walking alone along the A205 Pointer Road towards Tulse Hill at 9:30 p.m. On March 8th, the chief of police made a statement saying that there was no information to suggest that Sarah had come to any harm. However, that hope had gone the next day. At midnight on March 9th, the Metropolitan Police announced that they had arrested a man and his wife in connection with Sarah's disappearance. It was really shocking to everyone to find out that the man arrested was actually a serving police officer. The police managed to find him thanks to credit card data that he used when renting a car. The man arrested was 48-year-old Wayne Cousins, born in 1973 in Dover, England. He had a wife and 2 kids. He served in the 3rd Battalion of the Army Reserves for 2 years from 2002, and then worked as a mechanic in his family's garage in Dover for more than 2 decades. He was working as a traffic officer with Kent Police in Folkestone before joining Civil Nuclear Constabulary, the police force that guards the UK's nuclear power plants. He joined the Metropolitan Police in 2018, and in early 2020, he was moved to the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Command, the armed unit responsible for guarding London's diplomatic buildings and embassies. His older brother David is also a police officer. On March 10th, human remains were found in a builder's bag in Woodland near Kent, which is about 100 kilometers southeast of London. Using dental records, they were identified as Sarah Everard. The investigation concluded that the woman died from compression on the neck. On June 8th, Cousins pleaded guilty to kidnapping and raping Sarah. A month later, on July 9th, he pleaded guilty to her murder. Now let me take you a little bit back in time and tell you what we know that happened on the night of Sarah's disappearance. So it was March 3rd, and Wayne told his wife that he had a night shift at work, which wasn't true. Around 9:30, when Sarah was walking home from the meeting with a friend, he stopped her. He showed her his police warrant card, which is a type of identification that's carried by some law enforcement officials. He then proceeded to handcuff her and arrested her for breaching COVID guidelines. After that, he put her in his rental car and drove her all the way to Dover, where they got into his own car. In the meantime, they were twice captured by CCTV.
This is Sarah Everard just hours before she was killed in March. Seen here in newly released CCTV footage being stopped by then serving police officer Wayne Couzens as she made her way home from a friend's house. It's in this moment investigators say Couzens presented his police ID and handcuffed Everard, carrying out a false arrest under the guise of enforcing COVID-19 lockdown regulations.
The 33-year-old was then raped and strangled with a police belt. She died around 2:30 a.m. The policeman then removed the SIM card from her phone and threw the phone in the river. In the following days, he was complaining to his senior colleagues at work that he was feeling really stressed and that he didn't want to carry a gun anymore. He bought 2 large boulder bags in B&Q and approximately 5 liters of petrol at a service station. He was then captured by CCTV driving to Holtwood near Ashford, and he went there to burn Sarah's body in a refrigerator. He used one of the builder bags to dispose of her body in a pond on the 7th of March. The next day, he reported himself ill from work. After he was arrested, he initially denied knowing the woman. However, later he admitted he did recognize her in a photograph. But he said that he didn't hurt her. He said that he got into trouble with some Eastern European gang that threatened him and his family. He said that the gang forced him to deliver a girl in exchange for underpaying a prostitute a few weeks before. That is why he kidnapped Sarah and drove her out of London. But when he did that, she was still alive and uninjured. He then handed her over to 3 Eastern European men who were driving a van with Romanian number plates.
They're a group, a gang, whatever. And they told me, right, I need to go and pick up girls and give them to them. So I said, not happening. And it then came through that they're going to harm my family, take them away, and they'll use them instead. At that point, I had no option to try and find somebody.
However, later, after being confronted with some CCTV and also with forensic evidence like small fragments of Sarah's SIM card found in his car, he finally admitted to raping and murdering the woman. In a separate episode, Couzens was also accused of indecent exposure that happened just 3 days prior to Sarah's abduction in a fast food restaurant. It also came to light that he was accused of indecent exposure 6 years earlier, but he remained in the police force afterwards. Wayne's attorney asked for a 30-year prison sentence on the grounds that the accused pleaded guilty. He also suffered from mild depression, and he didn't have any previous convictions related to violence. However, Wayne Couzens was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Absolute life imprisonment is the harshest possible sentence in the British justice system, and Wayne joined the ranks of 60 other British criminals that are serving their sentence until the end of their days. Judge said that there were no signs of remorse in Couzens, and that one must take into account how prepared he was that night. The murder of the 33-year-old really shocked Britain. People were gathering to light candles for Sarah, and they were organizing vigils to show support for her family. The vigils were organized in many cities all around Britain, and one of them, it even featured Princess Kate. This whole situation provoked some resentment towards the police.
But not long after the crowds gathered, police broke up the vigil, citing coronavirus dangers. There were clashes, as you can see here, as police handcuffed and dragged mourners away.
The case sparked a widespread debate about violence against women and women's safety in the UK. After the murder, the British government reopened its public consultation on its violence against women and girls strategy. However, some feminist campaigners believe that not enough has been done in the wake of the murder. In October 2021, a BT chief executive, and BT is a British telecommunications company. So the chief executive, Philip Johnson, outlined plans for a new phone service called Walk Me Home. The service is supposed to track the user on their way home, and if they don't get home on time, then the service is supposed to notify the emergency contact. The proposal was supported by the Home Secretary Patel. However, not everyone was so enthusiastic about this idea. This case is quite emotional for me because, probably like many of you, there were a lot of times when I was walking home by myself or walking anywhere by myself, and I was scared. Many of us have to be aware of the footsteps behind us. We have to be aware of all the shadows around, and we clench keys in our hands in case that we need to protect ourselves, and all of that is really unfair. We should be able to feel safe. Many other women felt in a similar way after hearing about Sarah's murder because the truth is, this could have happened to any of us. That is everything that I've got for you today. What do you think about this case? Do you think that Wayne deserves the absolute life imprisonment, or do you think that he should be able to ask for parole? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below, and also feel free to suggest any other cases that I could cover in the future. Thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. Please stay safe, take care, and don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. I will see you soon in my next video. Bye.